The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. It's possible that the Pentagon weaponized ticks to use them as biological weapons, and this may have something to do with the epidemic of Lyme disease in America. House of Representatives orders Pentagon to investigate whether ticks were once used as biological weapons. The U.S. House of Representatives has ordered an investigation into whether the Department of Defense experimented with ticks and other insects as biological weapons. In an amendment passed last week, the House calls for the Defense Department's Inspector General to look at whether any such experiments were done between the years 1950 and 1975. That's interesting because that's right around when Lyme disease started to increase and increase. The amendment was introduced by New Jersey Rep. Chris Smith, who said he was inspired to write it by a number of books and articles suggesting that significant research had been done at U.S. government facilities, including Fort Detrick, Maryland, and Plum Island, New York, to turn ticks and other insects into bioweapons. The most common disease that ticks spread is Lyme disease, and it says here, according to the CDC, more than 300,000 people are diagnosed with Lyme disease every year. About 30,000 cases are reported to the CDC yearly. 2017, it was 42,743, which they say is a 17% more than 2016. If the Pentagon's investigation finds that the Defense Department weaponized Lyme disease in ticks, the amendment calls for a report on the scope of the experiment and whether the insects were released outside of any laboratory by accident or experiment design. In this article, they explain that Christopher Smith is co-chairman of the Congressional Lyme Disease Caucus, and he told Roll Call, who originally published an article on this, that he hopes the Inspector General will share information that shed light on these reports and could be used to hinder the spread of Lyme disease. For years, there have been reports and theories circulating that suggest the Department of Defense researchers at facilities like New York's Plum Island and Maryland's Fort Detrick may have used insects for biological weapons tests and released those insects outside of the lab, leading to the spread of Lyme disease. A book published in May called Bitten: The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons has brought public attention to these notions, which may have inspired Smith to propose this amendment that is co-sponsored by Maryland Republican Andy Harris and Minnesota Democrat Colin Peterson. A review by Outside Magazine says Bitten's author Chris Newby's research shared in the book, quote, rests on shaky ground and presents a lot of evidence but no smoking gun proving a connection between government biowarfare research and the Lyme disease outbreak. So remains to be seen what will happen with this bill, how far this is going to go, and if the Department of Defense is going to provide information, what kind of information they're going to provide. It's weird this just comes up now because my mother had been bitten by ticks in Vermont. I myself have had Bartonella 3 times. And I was just thinking, it's funny how Lyme disease is increasing and increasing, every year. And the weird, unbelievable explanation they gave, last I heard, was it was because humans were encroaching into the countryside where the animals live. As in, the animals used to have their own space, but now humans are moving into the animal space, coming in contact with ticks, and this is why everyone is getting Lyme, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because actually, not only is most of the land in America not inhabited by people, but in the old days, people actually were living more like in the country. Cities are kind of a modern thing, right? So people were living in the country and certainly in contact with animals, and they didn't have Lyme disease. I mean, Lyme really took off in the 50s and 60s. I think it was a big problem by the 1970s, and since then it's only gone straight up. So you have to kind of wonder, is there something else going on here? Or is this just entirely natural? Which I suppose it's possible. I mean, new diseases do occur and things do happen in nature, but I'm glad they're going to look into this. Because if it has something to do with a biological weapon, well, people should have the right to know. So I wanted to just give you guys a heads up. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. So let me know what you think. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.
Truth occurs.